This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Listening to this podcast instead of doom scrolling? Smart move. Another smart move? Getting help from one of State Farm's 19,000 local agents when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
And now, a special edition of the Toddcast podcast.
Powered by Citywide Mortgage Services. Providing complete financing and mortgage services for residential and small commercial businesses. Visit them at citywidemortgage.ca.
Now, here's your host, Todd Hancock.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land. You know, in the grand scheme of things, we're a relatively young country, Canada. You only have to go back to 1867 to trace our confederation. We're 157 years old this Canada Day, July 1st, 2024. And could you imagine living in Canada in those early years, like the late 1800s, harsh winters like we have now, huge distances between the major cities, the country is building. Construction of the CP rail, it starts connecting the country. There's lots of opportunity. As a growing country, agriculture, mining, timber, they're all booming. Canadian women are chasing down equality. It's a massive country. 10 provinces, 3 territories, 9.98 million square kilometers. Wrap your mind around that. 9.98 million square kilometers. The second largest country on Earth by total area, the fourth largest by land area. Canada is normally near the top of the best countries to live in, although we've kind of slipped in that regard over the years, especially if you're specifically looking at affordability. It's insane to live in Canada right now. Prices of everything is out of control. Food, gas, rent, entertainment, you name it. That is the main beef, I think, with Canadians, how expensive it is to live here, which means the gap between rich and poor is getting worse and worse. Some people you see living on the street, struggling, while others have multi-million-dollar homes in Kitsilano on an acre of land and an 8-bedroom house, 13 bathrooms, overlooking Burrard Inlet. Yes, Chip Wilson, we're looking at you, buddy. And while it may sound like I'm complaining about living in Vancouver, I can assure you that's not my point. It is expensive because of where we live and how many people would kill to live here as well. In beautiful British Columbia, one of the best countries on earth, Canada. Got a fun week planned to celebrate. You'll hear from 9 talented Canadians, 3 in sports, a retired 5-time Stanley Cup winning NHL goaltender, a retired pro racing cyclist, and a current AEW wrestler. 3 in entertainment, an actor podcaster, a former Much Music VJ, and an actress blogger known for competing at the Miss Italy World. And we'll get to this week's musical guests in just a sec. Couple singers. One is one of Canada's biggest rock bands of all time. The other fronts a supergroup plus a super talented soul and blues singer-songwriter. Hey there, my name is Todd Hancock. Appreciate you being there. Happy Canada Day. Hope you get to spend it with your family and your friends and whatnot. So coming up in just about, 10 minutes or so, in Stop Me If You've Heard This Before, ECCW wrestler Scotty Mack talks about the injuries and how they do eventually take their toll. That is powered by FKP MMA, into their 3rd year sponsoring Learn Self-Defense, Build Your Self-Esteem, Prepare Yourself for the unknown. You never know what's going to happen. There's something said about being able to protect yourself and those around you. My youngest, Levi, has been going a couple times a week now, going on, I guess 3 years or something like that. Red-faced every single time. He loves it, and so will you. Vancouver's #1 training destination through fkpmma.com. First, let's get to some Canadian musical guests, all of whom are powered by the Hawkins Sound Ranch. Longtime friends of the podcast. Get over 20 years experience, use their state-of-the-art studio, and trust that the owner, Corey, he's been there, done that kind of guy. He'll help elevate the sound of your band or your project, whatever you're working on. Commercial sound on an indie budget. Sounds pretty good, right? Check them out through thehawkinssoundranch.com. They're pretty chirpy on Facebook as well. So what is it about Canada? The Northern Lights? The fact that we're home to over 70 languages? Do we brag about our size? I think we should, right? Canada has the world's longest coastline, over 200,000 kilometers long. Fact is, there are so many reasons why Canada is one of the best countries in the world. And without a doubt, one of those reasons is our music, our bands, our artists. Long gone are the days where they needed CanCon regulations in order to get played on the radio. If you didn't know, all stations in Canada, all radio stations, need to play at least 35% Canadian music, some even more depending on their license. And when you really start to dig deep into Canada's music now, you don't need to go much further than Nickelback to see tremendous success. Over 50 million albums sold. How You Remind Me was Billboard's rock song of the decade. Listen to Nickelback singer Chad Kroeger talking about the first time he heard his band played on the radio.
CJ92 in Calgary had a show on Sundays called Red, White, and New. And they would showcase, I think, 3 independent artists. And that was the first time I heard myself on the radio.
How cool was that?
It was amazing. At about 6 o'clock, radio stations tend to cut their power in half. Right after the drive, isn't that the deal?
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So if you're 2.5 hours in the middle of nowhere, away from the nearest station, for us was CJ92, it gets hard to hear the radio. So we knew that we were going to be on, and my mom and I got in the car and we drove to the top of this one hill, and we got next to this big
transmitter.
Yeah, it was like a huge tower,
Yeah.
big metal tower, and sure enough, crystal clear.
Nice.
And we came on the radio, and
What song?
it was 4 songs off of our first little demo there called Hesher.
Wow.
My mom started to cry. I think I even welled up. I was feeling all kinds of crazy emotions. Like it was, I don't even know. It was just goosebumps and that I tell you what, in that little Ford Tempo, that radio, it couldn't go any louder.
And crazy, I almost actually worked at CJ92 in Calgary to the point of getting flown out by the then program director, a guy named Bob Harris. Showed me around the station and kind of hung out during the day and whatnot. The interview and all that went smashingly, and then they hired this guy named Red Dog, who I guess was good buddies with the then morning guy, Jerry Forbes, which makes sense, right? I mean, hire from within. It's a feel-good move. So Chad hears Nickelback for the first time on CJ in Calgary. So fast forward damn near, 30 years, and they've gone from let's hate them to let's love them. 12 Juno Awards, 6 Grammy nominations, sold out arena tours worldwide. And the love of not just you and I and fans around the globe, but the love of musicians as well. And that's why you've seen everyone from Daughtry to Jerry from Alice in Chains and the stuff that they recently did on CMT with Hardy. The fact that Pantera let Nickelback use Dimebag riffs to help record the song Side of a Bullet.
Well, unfortunately, we came up with the idea because we lost a great guitar player. He was literally assassinated on stage. So that's how we wound up, I was so moved and shaken, to my core, to lose a friend like that. And in terms of the rights, we just called Vinny, who we also just recently lost.
Right.
And he was all for it. You know, he loved the idea, and we'd been friends with the brothers for a long time. And then in terms of how do we come up with it? Well, what we did was we asked Vinny to send us up every single solo outtake that didn't get used.
Wow.
On all of their records, every single record.
So you're just sifting through riff after riff.
Yep. And then the problem was they weren't all in the same key. So when we grabbed the different chunks and all the different pieces, we had to move them into the right key and then time things, so everything was in the right time, the right key, with the side of a bullet. So that was tricky, very tricky. But once we figured out we want to sort of start like this and move into this, then we want, move along to, some cool shredding, and then end off with one of his big squeals at the end, and then have the whole thing just work. That's when we hand it off to an engineer and go, okay, these are the pieces we like.
Do this.
Yep. And now make this happen. And so he sat down there for days, piecing it all together.
Who's doing that?
That was Scott Cook.
Okay.
Yeah, he did a great job.
What a terrible story. Friend gets killed on stage doing what they love, something that you do as well. I can't imagine what musicians who knew Dimebag went through. Like, I know as a fan, I was devastated at the news. It was just shocking. So we'll go from the singer of one of Canada's biggest rock bands ever to a Canadian supergroup, kind of, Saint Asonia. So they formed in 2015. I'll explain in a sec here. So it's 3 Days Grace, original singer Adam Gontier, Stain's guitarist Mike Mushak, and Art of Dying's rhythm section, essentially. So their debut went to #1 on the Billboard US Hard Rock chart, over 100 million streams. And when Adam was a guest, he talked about mending his relationship with the rest of the guys in 3 Days Grace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. We've all grown up quite a bit. Families and kids and all that stuff. And especially for me, having kids has really changed a lot, changed everything. So your perspective definitely changes, and then, you start to realize what's important in life, and those things that I don't know, years ago seemed to be a big deal. They're really aren't, not a big deal anymore. So we, it had been about 10 years and we hadn't talked or anything like that. So we got together and chatted, and and now we're all sort of in touch a fair amount and chatting and stuff. So
see, like a 3 Days Grace Saint Asonia tour. You're like, I don't know if it's going that far, bud, but
yeah, I don't know, man. We'll see. I mean, we haven't really talked too much about that stuff yet. We're just sort of getting resituated and all that. So we'll see. But it's nice to just be in contact with all those guys. And
like I said, man, as a fan, and knowing both you guys, like, just good to see that it's back where it should be.
For sure.
And so cool to hear that Adam and the rest of 3 Days Grace have mended fences, because they are, without a doubt, one of Canada's biggest and best rock bands, undeniably. I remember the first time hearing I Hate Everything About You, and it was on 99.3 The Fox, CFox in Vancouver. I was doing their afternoon show from 3 till 7 at the time, but I wasn't at work. I remember I was driving in the car, maybe it was to work or whatever it was, and it came on, and I remember I stopped the car and I just pounded it. I literally just pounded it. And then after the song was done, I remember I called my boss. I was like, who is this? Like, holy crap, give me contacts. I want to get these guys on the show. But yeah, that's why I say Canadian supergroup, kind of, because Mike from Stained, of course, he's not Canadian, but we'll take him. I hear he's an absolute beauty as well. I've been buddies with Adam since then, pretty much. He's co-hosted hours and hours of radio with me over the years. Still friends, in fact, despite his love of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh yeah. I mean, Toronto, man, it's the Leafs and the Jays, always has been, and I'm a big fan.
Going the whole way this year?
Yeah, I mean, how many
Can
times
anybody
I've said
take down
that?
McDavid though? Fucking seriously.
Like, I would. What are the chances we see a Toronto Edmonton final?
Dude, Bettman
That
would
would be
lose his
insane.
mind, man.
I know. Yeah, I keep talking to people about that, and everybody's saying there's no way he's going to let that happen. But I mean, Bettman can't. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm a diehard Leafs fan, so I've been in it for years, and every year I've kind of said the same thing. Like this year, but this is a different team this year, and they do look pretty damn good. So
they do look pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that might become a problem is their goaltending there. If Samsonov doesn't hold up, we're kind of, we're in rough shape. Same with Edmonton, actually, right? So
yeah, exactly the same for Edmonton.
That's the only thing that is, could be their downfall.
Yeah,
I guess we'll see.
Hopefully the Canucks get Bedard and we'll actually be able to compete with you guys next year.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
I guess if you're from that area, you kind of got to support the Leafs. I don't know what's going on with Adam. So we'll take you from the singer of a deadly supergroup to a soul blues singer who was a guest during the pandemic. You'll love how AV captivates audiences. Her voice is incredible. She's powerful, full of emotion. Listen to AV talk about growing up to classical music, Paul Simon, Leonard Cohen, Cat Stevens, and that she wasn't allowed to watch TV as a kid.
Okay, yeah. So the subject matter of the album is stuff that I've thought about and issues and concerns that I've thought about due to living in a neighborhood where the opioid crisis is a really big deal. So is that. But yeah, musically, I grew up on my parents' vinyl collection, and they had a lot of classical music, but then they also had, which I wasn't very into as a kid, didn't really speak to me.
Like classical, like you mean like Beethoven, Bach, and all like classical stuff.
Like classical European strings.
Like not classic rock, classical music.
Not cast. No.
Yeah.
No. But I kind of got into more of this. They had like some 70s singer-songwriter records of people like Paul Simon and Leonard Cohen and Cat Stevens. I became a really big Cat Stevens fan. And that's just like all I really was exposed to because I wasn't allowed to watch TV growing up. So I kind of lived in, I know, crazy. It is a little crazy because all my friends, everybody I know makes references to like I miss out like half the jokes people make. I'm like,
sure.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Wow.
It is weird.
What was the reasoning behind that? Was there one?
Well, you should really directly ask them. But my understanding was that.
Are they around? I'll ask.
Yeah, they are. And they would love to talk to you. They're retired.
Yes, right.
And I don't know how much time you have, but yeah. So I think it was a combination of reasons. I think they were just a little put off by pop culture. Yep. And also just my dad was doing his PhD at the time in how kids learn to read and write, in how their attitudes towards reading and writing long before they even go to school are shaped by what they see around them. And so if you're around people who are reading books and who are creative, you pick up books in a different way than if you're just spoon-fed information by TV, where you don't have to read. Your imagination isn't engaged as much because it's just all given to you. It's all laid out.
Right.
You don't have to fill in the gaps yourself at all much. So anyway, I was a bit of a guinea pig, I guess, for his PhD.
Sure.
So anyways, it was just more, we had to make up our own play, our own fun. And I now, in retrospect, attribute that to how I handled the pandemic, back to your last question, and how I'm never bored. I can't ever imagine being bored in my life. Like, I don't relate to that state of being.
Yeah, right. Every once in a while, you'll run into someone who was not allowed to watch TV as a kid. And like every time it blows my mind, right? Like, what? I really like AV's music. Millions of streams. Critics love her. No doubt a rising star in the genre. Sold out shows, including the porch concerts that she did during COVID.
Well, I live in a part of Edmonton called Macaulay, which is a notorious neighborhood in some ways. It's where it's kind of like the East Hastings version of Edmonton.
Oh, okay.
If that puts into reference for a Vancouver, right?
Yep.
Vancouveronian.
Yes.
Person from Vancouver?
Vancouverite, sure.
Vancouverite. I should know this. I was born in Vancouver.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyways. So yeah, I have a lot of walking traffic past my front porch. And so of people who typically don't get to go to concerts, even pandemic or not.
Right.
So it didn't take me very long to realize that I could just get my performance out that way. You know what I'm saying?
And it's a very good way to do that. When you play live to people, you get the instant reaction of like, is this song working? Am I on the right track?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And I just had some friends join me that had sung with me. One friend of mine, Jojo, had sung with me the year earlier as a backup singer. And we realized like, oh, you could sing on the porch too, because we could be physically distanced, 2 meters doing that. And it was outside. So over the 2020, we put on 26 porch concerts. Every Sunday we did it for 26 Sundays in a row. And it would have been more, but in Edmonton, we don't have as nice weather as you do in Vancouver, which I know you like to
in
run
snow
in.
For a good portion of that.
Yeah, we had to quit for the snow.
Yeah. Well,
and then we did them again this year.
That's so
Or cool. Not this year, 2021 year.
Toddcast Podcast musical guest visits are powered by the Hawkins Sound Ranch. Use their 20-plus years of experience to record at their state-of-the-art studio. Commercial sound on an indie budget. Visit thehawkinssoundranch.com for more.
I messed it up on the first go round. Who's gonna want me now? And I replay all the things I should have said, but I didn't know how. All I need is a second. All I need is a second. Keep me up at night. If I could go back, there are pieces I would have rearranged, but I got off track. I used to run so fast after broken people I was trying to save, and it took me this long to learn that some will never change.
And now, stop me if you've heard this before on the Toddcast podcast.
ECCW, Elite Canadian Championship Wrestling, has been around since 1996, coming up on 30 years. By 14, they were Canada's largest wrestling promotion. There's a great doc called The Wrestling Life that's all about the ECCW. And their owner, and one of the most decorated wrestlers, when Scotty Mack was a guest, we talked about all sorts of things, like his first wrestling memory, including Hulk Hogan, King Kong Bundy. We talked about binge-watching lunatics. Legalized marijuana and microdosing mushrooms came up. So did the Egyptian pyramids and BoJack Horseman, concussions, seeing Weezer and Beck in concert. And stop me if you've heard this before, Scotty Mack talked about how the injuries do take their toll.
You know, because the injuries they add up and they take it.
Oh, I bet, man.
You know, they take its toll. Like, even though the ones that are just over time, you know, like I have a hard time with car rides over an hour, because one of my big moves was the springboard leg drop. I've stopped doing it like 3 times, and then once I start feeling better, I start doing it again, and then I go, what am I doing? I stopped doing this for a reason.
Kill your hips.
My hips are messed up. So, but at the same time, I'm actually feeling better than I was 5 years ago, physically.
Stop Me If You've Heard This Before on the Toddcast podcast is powered by FKP MMA, Vancouver's #1 training destination at fkpmma.com. And now, highlighting our next Blue Light Sessions, powered in part by Canadian Club Whiskey. Meet your new cold one. We serve Canadian Club and Ginger ready-to-drink cocktails at all of our live shows. Visit canadianclub.com today.
Train wreck there at the end. The band is Another Joe, and a great song for those guys. New to the podcast, it's called I Don't Wanna, and I bet you will see that one at our next live show. So it's the last Friday of the month. On Friday, July 26th, Blue Light Studio, beautiful East Vancouver. Toddcast podcast, Blue Light Sessions with Another Joe, the band you just heard, and Total Shock. And we'll play something from Total Shock for you in just a bit here. 45-minute sets with both bands. I will interview the bands. You can as well. You can ask questions or maybe even get them to play a cover song. We've had people even jump up on stage and play with them. So very interactive, very intimate, because it's only 60. That's it. Like, we cap the night at 60 people. Buy early to make sure you get in and save some money that way as well through eventbrite.ca, Eventbrite, eventbrite.ca. Search Toddcast. You can't miss it. $25 if you want to gamble, and hope there's still tickets at the door. Doors are at 7. Show starts at around 8:15. Been saying 8 for so long, but I feel bad because honestly, it's not till like 8:15, 8:20. All right. Anyway, played you Sadie Campbell, and a relatively new song for her. She's released a couple recently. In fact, the one you heard is called Second Chance. Sadie's originally from Vancouver, but she's been living in Nashville now for a while. I believe she's married, in fact, has a baby. Things are kind of humming along for her, and obviously couldn't be happier for her. She's just a gem, like inside and out. We worked together for a minute there at CFox back in the day, and she was just always so nice and just down to earth, and I had no idea she has become a freaking little rock star in the meantime. Very cool. All right, so coming up in just a few minutes in Listen to This, keynote speaker Mandy Gill, who actually just had a billboard in Times Square, like crazy, right? Talks about the grind of social media and content creation. It's big for most businesses, and I guess it's just a necessary evil. We'll talk about that. That is powered by 8-year sponsor Tedco RV Supplies in Langley. Service, repairs, ICBC accredited. Yes, absolutely key to why we've been able to continue making podcasts for you over the years. Big love, of course, to Tamra and the crew there. You can find them online, kick around on Facebook and on Twitter at Tedco RV Supplies. First, let's back to more Canadian guest highlights in our Canada Day 24 podcast and some sporting guest visits powered by Hand Over Hand Textiles in Vancouver. Naturally dyed goods, talking t-shirts and socks and bandanas, dishcloths, shirts and scarves, pillowcases, truly whatever you want them to make. You'll love their work as well. Every piece is super unique as it's all handmade. They only use pure plant extracts, natural fibers. Mother Earth approves. Big thumbs up. Locally owned as well, locally operated. Find them through handoverhandtextiles.com. They're also on Instagram as well, chirping away there. So Canada is famous for Iceberg Alley in Newfoundland and Labrador, where massive icebergs float down from the Arctic. Probably more known for our poutine. Started off in Quebec in the 50s. Churchill, Manitoba is the polar bear capital of the world. You often hear that tourists just go there to see polar bears in the wild. Canada is also famous for having exceptionally skilled hockey players like Grant Fuhr, legendary NHL goaltender. Played 19 seasons. His record-breaking 79 appearance streak in a single season stands unmatched. Fuhr won 5, count them, 5 Stanley Cups with the Edmonton Oilers.
You know what? Each time you win the Stanley Cup, it's kind of the same feeling.
Yeah.
Because it's a different group of guys, and you go through different trials and tribulations over the course of a season. So every time you win, it's different, but it's always a great feeling at the end.
He is a man of a few words, and you got to love that. Every time you win, it's different. Most players would kill to win 1, let alone 5 Stanley Cups. You would have to be a fool to argue otherwise. Fuhr will always have a place in hockey history. Awarded the Vezina Trophy in '88. His impact goes way beyond the stats. He's a remarkable person. He shared his thoughts on being inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame.
A nice individual accolade for being lucky enough to play on good teams. And it shows you're a part of good teams.
And what still stands out from the day you're inducted to the Hall of Fame?
Probably that you actually have to stand there and make a speech. I'm not one for speeches, so that was the hard part, because you're standing there and you don't want to forget anybody.
Right.
There's so many people that help you along the way that you just want to make sure you don't forget anyone.
And how many times is it Lisa is your wife? How many times did you run that by her?
Actually, we were married at that time, so
okay.
I ran it by my kids once or twice, and I was going to write a speech, and then I decided to just wing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do better winging it than I do writing things down. So.
And talk about super cool to get Grant Fuhr on the podcast as a lifetime fan, of course, of hockey, right? Equally loved having Sara Bergen on the podcast, who you'll know as a now retired pro racing cyclist. She wasn't at the time, who left a mark on the sport, numerous podium finishes, stage wins. Her presence is undeniable. And when she was a guest, we talked about nutrition and what she eats getting ready for big races.
I just giggle because it's like everyone's the question is, what do you eat? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you guys think I eat?
Yeah.
Not really. Like, I definitely, like, coming up close to the race, like, and through, like, there'll be kind of travel into France, like, 4 days before. Like, we're pretty on top of it in terms of just making sure, like, you fuel yourself with good stuff. And that just helps with you, like, mitigating, like, any kind of, like, stuff from travel. You don't pick up anything. You know what I mean? You're putting healthy stuff in your body.
Yeah.
And, like, that kind of thing. But one thing that cyclists, and myself included, really enjoy is, like, like we ride a lot and everything in moderation, but I definitely like a good pastry. So my friend calls it happiness watts, and like I'm a fan. So especially I have a little bit of time at home before then, I'm going to get my happiness watts in there and make sure I hit up actually this local patisserie, Thomas Haas. He's the best.
That's awesome.
Freaking best croissant in town. Like, yeah.
Interesting to hear professional athletes, right, talk about what they eat. Doesn't it make you go like, oh, okay, so like don't eat 3 pizza pops at midnight, Roger. I gotcha. So Sara rode for UCI Women's Continental Team Rally Racing between 17 and 20, say that 5 times fast, domestically and on international tracks. Loved hearing her talk about racing La Course in France back in 2019.
So it's at the Women's World Tour level, so it's kind of like the premier kind of level of racing. I've been lucky enough to represent Canada at the past 3 World Championships, so I have had some exposure to racers and racing at this level, which is great. And then also racing the Tour of California these past 2 years, once again, that's also a Women's World Tour event, so you're kind of getting this exposure to the higher caliber of racing. And these specifically, like these really, really, really strong European riders. So that's kind of the first thing. It's just like kind of having that exposure just because the peloton acts a lot different. And then there's obviously like you got to do your homework and put the time in. And by what I mean by that is like, you know, like we're going to be racing, I think, just shy of 130 kilometers. So it's going to be around maybe 4 hours. It's really, really fast, 3.5 kind of thing. So there's obviously like an endurance piece, which just takes time. So that's kind of the homework. Do your endurance piece, do the recon you can of the course, and like, you know, like the topography and what it's going to be like. And then just like knowing that European peloton and just knowing it's freaking wild. Like, yeah, these women are like awesome athletes, and being able to get in there and compete with them is really an honor, to be honest.
Just a great story from one of Canada's best cyclists to an undeniable force in pro wrestling, Kyle O'Reilly. Of course, you see him in AEW now, top tier skill, intensity matched by few, multiple championships with NXT and Ring of Honor. He's been wrestling professionally since 2005. His start with ECCW here in Vancouver, Canada, damn near 20 years in the biz. So listen to Kyle talking about his career highlights.
Oh man, that's a really tough question. I mean, it was really cool experience to. I've wrestled in a lot of amazing historic venues, and that's something that I think is so cool. The fact that I've wrestled in Madison Square Garden, Maple Leaf Gardens, the Royal Albert Hall, the Tokyo Dome. Like these are some legendary venues where some amazing historical matches have happened, and amazing performers have been, and it's just really cool to have that small place in history where, you know, I've been there and I performed there. I think that's a really cool thing.
Yeah. Hard to nail that down to one specific thing though. Hey?
Yeah. Right. I don't know. I'd say Madison Square Garden's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Performing there. Yeah.
And no doubt, right? Like it's going to be tough to beat wrestling at Madison Square Garden. And what a trip talking to Kyle, might I quickly add here, like him giving me props for my time in radio at CFox. He used to listen, I guess, to my afternoon show as a teenager, which is a real mind blower, longtime fan of wrestling, and just kind of randomly noticed that Kyle had followed me on Twitter. So when I reached out to see if he'd want to be a guest, he was like, oh, hell yeah, buddy. So of course we talked a lot about wrestling, but we got into other areas in his life as well, like his family and vacations and downtime and that sort of stuff. And the fact that he's a big Vancouver Canucks fan. And we talked about the riot of 2010 and having the Winter Olympics in Vancouver as well.
Yeah, Canucks have broken my heart many times, so it's got to be all in on them now at this point, right? 2 cup runs in my lifetime, and just each one more bitter than the next.
I know, right? What do you remember most about the 2010?
I was living in St. Louis at the time, just dating my girlfriend soon, which would become my wife. And I came home for the finals or whatever, and just being heartbroken, and just being, you know, that vibe in the city was unreal, that run too, right? Like, as I was at the age where I could be going downtown at the bars, it was just nuts. Right. And just heartbreaking too when you see the mess that people made. It's just, that's not cool. And then I remember coming back to St. Louis, and people were like, oh, look what the people in Vancouver did. Well, pathetic. I'm like, shut up. Like,
yeah.
you guys shoot up each other all the time. Like, it's not that bad in Vancouver.
Yeah, we flipped some cars and fucking burned some garbage and shit. But like, yeah, I was doing my radio show like right downtown at the library there, and they'd closed off that street. I can't remember the name of the street there, but they had these big ass screens and shit. And like, dude, once it got to like, the Bruins were up like 4-2 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
These water bottles are flying across and shit. I'm like, fuck, I'm not staying here, man. I called my wife. I'm like, I'll be home right after my shift.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the Olympics are a much fonder memory of the golden goal. That was at least, a positive spin on Vancouver sports. was Winter Olympics 2010.
The Toddcast podcast is powered by Milano Coffee, bringing you the finest espresso and coffee concepts in the world. Online at milanocoffee.ca.
You want it all, but you don't know how much more failure you can face. And you know what you saw, but you're never gonna get it if you keep praying and saying, call. Every time I do, you just ask for more. It's just out of reach. Come closer to me, and I'll show you. If you want me, quit calling. I don't feel the same as you. If you need me, quit falling. I don't feel the same as you. If you want me, quit calling. I don't feel the same as you. If you need me, quit falling. You want it all, but you don't know if you got what it takes. And you know what you saw, but you're never gonna get it, never gonna get it, never gonna get it. It's just out of reach. If you want me, quit calling. I don't feel the same as you. If you need me, quit falling. I don't feel the same as you. If you want me, quit calling. I don't feel the same as you. If you need me, quit falling. I don't feel the same as you. I don't feel the same as you. I don't feel the same as you. I don't feel the same. Why don't you just go and walk away? Quit calling. If you want me, quit calling. I don't feel the same as you. If you need me, quit falling. I don't feel the same as you. If you want me, quit calling. I don't feel the same as you. If you need me, quit falling. I don't feel the same as you.
Listen to this on the Toddcast podcast.
Mandy Gill is a health expert, a keynote speaker, podcaster, a longtime friend of the podcast. We actually worked together in radio back in the day, always so positive, always had a smile on her face. She went on to work at Virgin Radio, Global TV, Shaw TV, and KVOS TV. The story goes, Mandy fell in love with CrossFit in her late teens, started competing at the CrossFit Regionals in 2010. Now she does keynote speaking for companies, helping create healthy workplace environments. You've seen her from time to time on CTV Morning Live and CTV News at Noon. And when Mandy was a guest, we talked about getting through the COVID years. She talked about how she's big into trail running. She shared the story of her first concert, Alanis Morissette. We talked about keynote speaking and workplace productivity. She shared the story of emceeing Rihanna at Rogers Arena and the music that she grew up around, like Phil Collins, Hendrix, Celine Dion. And Mandy talked about the grind of social media and content creation. Listen to this.
There's two ways to look at it. We get to connect with our community, which is fantastic. Everyone that's listening, that's like what drives you to do this, to come onto this, podcast and talk to people, which is fantastic. But the hardest part is that it's so demanding in the way of like new content. People generally have to see something, from what I hear, 3 to 5 times until they actually see it and consider seeing it for the first time.
Right.
So for you, it's like, oh my gosh, I've put this out 4 times now. Like, this is old material. And to the general public that's scrolling, it's like, oh gosh, this is what Todd's up to today. And you're like, no, I put that up 2 months ago.
And that's so true. That is so true, right? Because it's just like over and over. You like see it, like, yeah, no, it's cool. They got the guy from Clutch on, great, or whatever it is. But they may like the tweet, but they don't check it out. It's like, oh, just check it out. It's fun. It's good. It's like, so it's tricky. Yeah. It's tricky for sure.
It is. And I think that there's another piece to it too, where, and I'm starting to learn a lot more about this thanks to having more hands in the business, because I can't do it all on my own. So I'm hearing exactly what you're saying, because I'll be very honest, I need support in it as well. And I've had support, I think, since 2016 when it comes to marketing and social media.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, and it's just something I just, I got very overwhelmed by. And what I would also point out is the algorithms. Like there's a lot of pieces of that where it's like you can put out your best, most prized possession, your best podcast interview, and you're like, did anyone see this?
Listen to This on the Toddcast podcast is brought to you by Tedco RV Supplies in Langley, an ICBC approved repair shop. Visit them on Facebook and Twitter at Tedco RV Supplies.
When I'm sad and I don't want to feel it, then I'm mad and I don't think I'll be it. When I'm bad, it feels just like Theresa, and it feels like I got it. Oh, so bad. Oh, so bad. When I'm sad and I don't want to feel it, then I'm mad and I don't think I'll be it. When I'm bad, it feels just like Theresa, and it feels like I got it. Oh, so bad. Oh, so bad. When I'm sad and I don't wanna feel it, and I'm mad and I don't think I'll be it, and I'm bad and it feels just like Theresa, and it feels like I got it. Bad. Oh, so bad. Oh, so bad. Oh, so bad.
They are Total Shock, and I love that one. It's called Can't Not Feel It, new to the podcast, and perhaps you'll see that one at our next live show. So we try to do these shows the last Friday of the month, unless, of course, there's a stat holiday. Don't do shows on a stat. That's a terrible idea. Very bad. Then we'll do the Friday before, but this month has worked out. The last Friday of July 26, at Blue Light Studio, Another Joe will headline the night, so they're on second. Total Shock will start things off around 8:15-ish, 8:15, 8:20. We do say, on the posters that, music's 8 o'clock, but let's be honest, that never works out. It's best case scenario. Both bands, as mentioned, they do get the 45-minute set. I'll interview them. You get to ask questions as well. They're playing the whole time while we're talking to them as well. It's very cool. And then we just kind of let them loose, do a normal show, quote unquote, for the remainder of their 45. grab a ticket right now. Make sure you get in because these shows tend to sell out. You save $5 as well. So it's $20 through eventbrite.ca, eventbrite.ca. Things as mentioned start at 7 o'clock. So, or for the doors are at 7 o'clock. Friday, July 26th, another Joe, Total Shock, and I hope you can make it out. Punk rock. Oi! Gonna be a wicked little night. You heard Chase the Bear, and that was their song called Quit Callin', and I love this band. And if you saw them at the Blue Light with us last year, was that like a November show? I think it was. Killer band live, regardless. You can see some of that show at our YouTube channel at Toddcast Podcast. And if you're in Chilliwack, yes, Chilliwack, next Saturday, July 13th, Chase the Bear play Corky's Irish Pub. Chilliwack. That's an 8:30 start and just 15 bones, which is killer. Nice little treat for that area of the Lower Mainland. Speaking of live music, you can find a list of shows that you really should consider going to with the indie scene at toddhancock.ca. If you're playing a show or you're going to it, if it's indie, major label bands do not need our help. Let me know about it. I will get it up at the website, some free advertising for the show. Get me your band's music, your music, and maybe we'll play a song on the podcast as well. A contact form through toddhancock.ca. You'll find me that way. So did you know that basketball was invented by a Canadian? Yeah, a guy named James Naismith back in 1891. He was not living in Canada at the time. He was in Springfield, Massachusetts, but I thought that was pretty cool. Of course, Canada is rich with history on both sides of the fence, positive and negative. Two words should get you cringing: residential schools, forcibly removing Indigenous kids from their families. Many suffered physical, emotional, sexual abuse. Thousands died from poor living conditions. It's a terrible scar on Canada's history. Japanese internment camps during World War II. Canadian government confiscated property, businesses, personal belongings of Japanese Canadians. It's not a good look, spurred on by the prejudice after Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor. And let's not even bring up the Chinese head tax and exclusion tax of 1923, only 101 years ago. A head tax on Chinese immigrants? Yikes. But the positives, because there's lots of that as well, like the legacy of Terry Fox, a hero, truly. Ran the Marathon of Hope in 1980, raised a ton of money for cancer research. Still to this day, his name lives as a symbol of hope and courage. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms in 1982, only 42 years ago, ensuring the protection of individual rights against abuses by government and fostering a culture of respect for human rights, pushing for gender equality, LGBTQ plus rights and Indigenous rights. The world can count on Canada for humanitarian aid and disaster relief, our peacekeeping missions and support of global health initiatives. Like broad strokes here, right? Broad strokes. Sweeping statements, but strong nonetheless. And this shouldn't surprise you, I suppose. Canada is home to over 1 million moose. Oh, Canada, indeed. Okay, so let's get back to more guest highlights, this time entertainment guests in our Canada Day 24 podcast, episode 338. And there's a multitude of reasons that you'll know Jonathan Torrens. Actor Jonathan Torrens plays J-Rock on the Trailer Park Boys, but you've seen him in all sorts of great shows. Mr. D, Letterkenny, Game On, Call Me Fitz, multiple Gemini Awards and Canadian Screen Award nominations. He has had a great career, packed with lots of creativity. He's navigated the waters like a pro, and you're going to love what he said about his career highlight.
It's kind of broad, but I went to LA after I finished on John Vision. I was there for 7 years. I turned 30, and I've been working at CBC for 15 years. And I went to answer the what-if question. What would happen if I went there? And partially to give a self-imposed exile to get out of Canada so I could hopefully work here again. And I found out what would happen. I auditioned for terrible shows and didn't get lots of gigs and found myself in a room with 4 dudes in tight V-neck T-shirts. Like, I didn't know where I was a lot of the time, but I made friends for life, and I worked a fair bit on shows that I'm proud of. But I made a lifestyle choice to move back to Nova Scotia because I remember the moment that things that used to feel limiting and suffocating about where I'm from were suddenly comforting and familiar. So I made a decision born out of really the heart and a desire to live where I was most comfortable. And I thought, I'll go to CompuCollege. I'll be a realtor. I really don't care what I do, but there's just nothing more important to me in the world than living there. And when I moved back, work has flourished here. So it's kind of an all-encompassing statement. But I guess the thing I'm most proud of is that I discovered in my quest for it, I figured out that it to me is having a balance. And in my business, a work-life balance doesn't come easy. But I live in rural Nova Scotia with the love of my life and our two little girls outside of a town called Truro. Trailer Park Boys now shoots in Truro, Nova Scotia. So I get to shoot my dream gig. I'm writing the thing. I'm directing some episodes now.
Just up the road.
Playing J-Rock 6 minutes from my house, and I get to sleep in my own bed every night.
How good is that?
So the thing that I'm most proud of is that.
Funny, because I would have thought that Jonathan would have said doing 3 weeks of afternoon radio in Vancouver with me would have been his career highlight. That, by the way, was crazy, just out of control. Like, keep your hands inside the carts kind of radio. You want unpredictability, like crack a mic and do live radio with J-Rock, because he stayed in character for the radio moments. Of course, he wasn't in character the whole time because that had just been weird, but he's just a solid dude, like just a really good dude who also has a podcast with Jeremy Taggart, who you'll know as the original drummer for Our Lady Peace. It's called the Taggart and Torrens podcast, and it's beauty. Those two together make gold happen. And it was interesting to get Jonathan's take on the craft of interviewing, because there is one. He would know, certainly from doing the podcast, like be prepared, sure. Know where you're going? Yeah, that too. Ask good questions? Yeah, hopefully.
The craft of interviewing, because I'm naturally curious, or as we say in PEI, nosy, is something that genuinely interests me. And you're one of the good ones because you realize that as the old saying goes, the interviewer is the star of the show, but the interviewee has to be the star of the interview. And I think it's most compelling when the interviewer uses silence as a tool, because the laws of social grace that apply to a conversation don't apply to an interview. So if you don't jump in to fill the space and keep it going, that's probably when I'm going to keep talking and give you my best stuff.
Hey, I'll take all the accolades I can coming from that guy. Like, I will admit that clip was a little self-serving. As I'll take you from an actor to a broadcaster who certainly helped me down the path. I can't say it was because of her that I got into radio and podcasting for, damn near 30 years now. But Erica M. certainly played a role, obviously from her Much Music days. Do you remember what the world was like back then? Like, think about that. No internet, no cell phones. It was appointment tuning. Watch or you're going to miss it. There was no PVR. You couldn't just record something. Life didn't work like that back then. And being that I'm just such a music spaz, like, I knew that I was going to get into something music related early on in my life. Like, it took me till my early 20s to get that ball rolling and take the steps. But I knew, by high school for sure, like, nothing else moves me like music does. So for there to be a nation's music station on TV at such a time, like, all of the VJs on Much left their mark on me. So that's why I'm saying it's not Erica specifically. It's just that she was in your life growing up, interviewing Nirvana and Deftones, and bands were playing in the building and packed with a bunch of fans. It was really amazing television for a music nerd. And how cool is it that Erica said at the time that there was little to no guidance as a VJ. They just said, like, you're on between 2 and 5, give her.
It was a blessing and a curse, and he's absolutely right.
Wow.
In some ways. When I went on the air, I wasn't a trained broadcaster. I didn't go to broadcasting school, but I had been working in the music business at that point for about 5 years, which was a lot considering I was 23. So I didn't have the skills to assemble a story in a sort of, quote, professional way. But I think my enthusiasm made up for it to some degree. And then as I stayed with the job and Moses supported me as I learned in front of the country, which was challenging. Then I learned the skills of broadcasting. And that was his whole philosophy, which was anybody could be a broadcaster, but not anybody has the expertise or enthusiasm or is a content specialist. So at Much Music, he would always find people who were obsessed with music in some form, or that they were obsessed with comedy, or they had some sort of a vibe about them. And then on the sister station, City TV, he always hired people, or he tended to hire people who had less broadcast experience, but were lawyers or prosecutors or environmentalists. And then they all learned on the job.
That is some fly by the seat of your pants kind of stuff. And again, one of the reasons I got into broadcasting. I tried my best to not totally fanboy Erica and just geeking out and talking to her. And of course, I had to ask her about her first concert.
It was David Cassidy from the Partridge Family, and my dad took me. And David Cassidy, I remember it because he was wearing, I didn't understand at the time, but he was wearing a white jumpsuit with sparkles and fringes, which now I understand was very Elvis Presley at the time. He walked on stage and all the girls started shrieking. And I looked at my dad and covered my ears and cried and left because I couldn't hear the music. And thus began Erica Ernest M. And I'm still like that. I like to listen to music. Music has meaning to me. And even back then, I wasn't like a screaming girl, even though I loved the music so much. It was listening to it, not screaming to it, that mattered.
I don't know what it is. I love hearing people tell their first concert stories. Like, always have loved it, especially like if the person you're talking to is big into music, because suddenly you hear them tell, like you're hearing about like the smells of a venue or like that odd person that was at a merch booth or, specific details that they remember. Because often someone's first concert is like when they were super, super young, right? So we'll take you from a Canadian broadcasting royalty to a talented Canadian actress and influential blogger, Theresa Longo. Her blog is known for its fashion, beauty, and lifestyle content. And she is known, as mentioned earlier on, for running for and becoming Miss Italia North America 2011.
Oh, yeah, time flies.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I had lost my passport in the U.S., and I just made it back to Canada in time for the pageant. I barely made it to the pageant. And I didn't speak Spanish at the time. Italian at the time. And had to go out on the stage and read these things in Italian and just really wing it. And I think my acting helped me think on the fly and kind of act like, I really belonged there. And sure enough, I got sent to Italy. I won the North American title. And I placed about halfway through the group in Italy, so I didn't become Miss Italy North America, but I got to share the stage with, 40 winners from around the globe. Mm-hmm. It was so exciting. We met the politicians. We had security detail. We actually couldn't even leave outside of the pageant because there was so much security issues, around, I don't know, they have mafia and they have the threat that we could be kidnapped or things like that. They're very cautious about stuff like that. So they kept a close eye on us. When we met these politicians, we had a helicopter detail and all this security.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was wild. So I kind of felt almost like I was really grateful for the opportunity, but I definitely saw some restrictions that were put on us for our safety.
That's a neat story, right? Could you imagine that style of competition, the world stage and all eyes on you? Theresa's impact in that world is clear, as you'll hear if you check out the full interview. She's got a passion for both performing and writing. And as always, we got into it with her, covering a lot of ground like family and binge watching shows, the music that was in her house as a kid growing up.
You're asking such cool questions. My dad loved to listen to rock and roll. So I used to listen to the Rolling Stones and Creedence Clearwater Revival and Fleetwood Mac, classic. my parents' generation
Well,
rock.
yeah. I mean, you just can't go wrong with like a Rumors Fleetwood Mac. You know, it's something about that record.
Yeah, totally.
And like
classic.
Wings and Bob Seger. Yeah, all the classic
You name
rock.
it. Yeah,
So
you
good.
just named a lot of my dad's. Yeah, that's my dad's.
I mean,
for sure.
that's all the stuff that my mom was playing too. You know, she played like ABBA. I know, like, for the life of me, I couldn't, forget ABBA even if I tried.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Red Truck Beer. You never forget your first truck. Official beer of the Toddcast podcast.
Very cool to hear new music from Under the Mountain. New for them, new to the podcast. It's called Play Our Way. I think they just played a concert here in Vancouver. I believe it was at the Waldorf. Couldn't make that night. I saw it and I was like, man, of course, I'm teaching that night. I teach a part-time course at BCIT, the radio intro course, and they were playing that night. Anyway, good group of dudes, good players. I believe they're based at, where are they now? Is it Nanaimo or is it Victoria? Regardless, they're from the island. Let's say that. They're vicious players. These boys can play. They played a couple shows for the podcast over the years. This is back in the railway days. Great shows. Okay, so honestly, when you really give it a good think, why do people want to live in Canada? Let's wrap this up. There's a few key reasons, right? First off, it's beautiful. We're a beautiful part of the world, super lucky in that regard, right? But it's universal health care, high levels of education, low-ish crime rates. We're clean for the most part. It's pretty safe for the most part. Cultural diversity, sure. There are so many reasons that people want to live in Canada. Is it expensive? You bet your ass it is. Happy birthday, Canada, you big expensive bastard. We love you. Of course, big thanks to all of our guests this week, highlighting their lives and their careers well beyond their visits. And that's going to do it for this one. Canada Day 2024 podcast, episode 338 in the bag. Once again, my name is Todd Hancock. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard, as usual, please tell your friends about us. It is a big way of how we grow. We are part of the Realm.fm network. You can check those guys out. Massive network of nonfiction and fiction podcasts. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and more. Comment and rate the podcast. Search it out through what else? Toddcast Podcast. Of course, a big thanks to all of our wonderful sponsors. We couldn't do it without their support. You can find all sponsor websites at toddhancock.ca. If you would like to sponsor the podcast, you can for as little as $10 a day. Contact info at the homepage. Give me a shout. See what's up, okay? If you help us find a sponsor, we will give you a commission. Full stop. End of. All right? Till next time, don't be an asshole. Nobody wants to be around that. Have fun, play hard, and most of all, believe in yourself.
You've been listening to the Toddcast podcast, powered by Citywide Mortgage Services, dedicated to helping you find the best mortgage rates. Available 7 days a week at citywidemortgage.ca.
What if I told you you only have 12 hours to legally have sex?
To finding true love, or just like a good guy.
From the director of Easy A and Anyone But You.
This whole thing is nuts.
There's nothing traditional about this night.
On August 7th, the clock starts on the summer's biggest rom-com.
I'm Owen.
Allie.
What about you and me?
Monica Barbaro, Callum Turner.
I've been told I'm a 7.
By who? Your mom?
No, she thinks I'm a 10.
One night only. Rated R. Only in theaters August 7th.
The Tudors were probably the most scandalous dynasty in British history. This season on Vulgar History, we're spilling the tea on this messy, messed up family and the people who had to live through it all. Anne Boleyn and the other wives of Henry VIII are known today from the musical Six, but who were they really? Did any of them actually want to marry him? Henry VIII, the man who was literally the worst? How did two of them manage to escape with their heads intact? We'll also get into historical mysteries, like who really wrote Shakespeare's plays, who was the real Bloody Mary, and what was happening elsewhere in the world while the Tudors were trampling all over England, like the mysterious disappearance of the Roanoke colony and the true story of the girl known as Pocahontas. I'll be joined by Tudor historians, experts, and a few of my friends who really hate Henry VIII to learn all about the Tudors this season on Vulgar History. Because it's Henry VIII all day, every day. Listen to Vulgar History wherever you get podcasts.
Goodbye, Kyle!
Did the sound of those words call to you like Pavlov's dog? Then you might enjoy our podcast, Turtle Time.
Every week, you can join me, Riley Hamilton, and my co-host, Amy Scarlotta, as we cover the most pressing Bravo news and dig into the new episodes to answer important questions like, who the hell is Adrian Malouf in this world?
Listen to Turtle Time on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes every Wednesday and Friday.